I'm attorney Leonard Boyer, and this is a divorce attorney's guide to dating. Do you know what to ask your date on the first date? Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm not giving you legal advice, giving you dating suggestions. What qualifies me to talk to you about dating, no matter what your age? Well, I've been a divorce attorney and licensed to practice in New Jersey for 39 years. I've been through at least 3,000 divorces professionally and more than I'll admit to personally. Now, based on that, I'm going to ask you some questions. You know what to ask on your first date. The answers you get on the first date are extremely important to you in determining whether or not there should be a second date. And I don't care who you are or what your age is. These questions are equally valid whether you're in your 20s or your 70s. The first question to ask is, how come someone as nice as you are single? Remember, a person's favorite subject is themselves. See how they respond to that. Do they hesitate? Or does it sound like they have a, a prepared answer, or like they're following a script? You want to see how spontaneous their questions are, their responses are. And remember, a person's favorite subject is always talking about themselves. And the more you get them to talk about themselves, the more you will learn about them. The next question to ask is, so how do you determine what, who to date? What do you want in it? What do you want in a date? This is where you start to look for patterns. More about that later. How does the person respond? Do they think about the answer? Do they give it to you right away? Or are they wondering what to say? Now, if they're looking around or if they're playing with their cell phone, that's an immediate no-no. It means either they're too shy, they lack social skills, or they haven't been dating in a while and they don't know what to say. Now, the next question you should ask is, after they've asked you, after you've asked them, how do you determine who you want to date? Follow up with questions like, so how come, what about me interested you? And then see how they respond. Are they nervous? Observe their body language as much as you can. In this video is raw and unedited because that's the way dating is. So you want to ask follow-up questions. Is there a pattern to their answers? How, how did you know that I would be the type of person you wanted to date? Did you know? What was there about? What did you think about me that made you choose that you wanted to possibly date? The next question you should ask them is, why did you pick this place for us to meet? This is a more important question than it may seem. Now, there'll be times when you go on dates and they tell you they want to meet for drinks. Okay, fine. Well, be very careful watching what they're drinking, watching whether or not they order for you or whether they let you order what you want. That's an indication of whether or not somebody feels the need to be in control. There could be other reasons too, but you want to know. The place you and the next thing you want to observe is after a while, let's say you're in a restaurant and you were initially invited for just drinks. Does that person take you to dinner at the same restaurant afterwards, or do they suggest another restaurant? Be careful. If they suggest another restaurant, who knows what could happen? You're always safer in the same restaurant or sports bar or wherever you happen to meet. You don't ever want to meet someone in an isolated area. And does their answer as to why they picked this place make sense to you? What are your feelings about meeting them there? How far in advance did you know where they wanted to meet? And what did you know about the place they chose before? Or did they ask you, where would you like to meet for our first date? These are also important questions. Again, in all these questions, you're looking for patterns. You want to see what the person is thinking. The next question, and possibly the final question for the date, is what are you looking for in a relationship? Does somebody want a relationship that leads to marriage? Does somebody want a relationship just for platonic reasons? Or are they interested in just casual sex? Or do they want to see where it goes? The next question to think about is internally, do you want to see this person again? And if so, why or why not? Now, when you ask someone what they're looking for in a relationship, that will give you a tremendous amount of information. Is the person looking for someone to be an equal partner? Or is the person looking for someone to share the financial responsibilities of a relationship? Do they want a family? Do you want a family? These are questions to ask because they will determine, in part, whether or not you want to date again. Now, when it comes time, if you've been invited to dinner or just it stays at just drinks, what you want to know is what you want to observe is does your date pick up the check or does he or she ask you to split it with them? Asking to split, in my opinion, is not a good sign. When I used to date, if a woman asked me to split the check, I was pretty sure there wouldn't be a second date. Now, don't feel compelled to pay for it. See how the person reacts when you say, well, it was your idea to have this date. Why do you want me to pay for it? This is an interesting question because it's going to determine whether somebody is cheap, whether somebody may or may not be someone who wants to control the whole relationship, or it may be an innocent question. This is how they're used to doing things. They don't know at this point whether they want a relationship or not. Maybe one of you looks like you have superior economic means to the other person. You care whether or not the person's finances are the same as yours or not. After the date is over, go your separate ways. Don't take any chances. You don't know this other person yet. You don't know if you're going to see them again or not. And no one can ever be too careful. Remember, if this person is paying attention, if this date is important to them as it is to you, make sure you observe if they're using their cell phone or not. A sure sign to me of a bad date is someone who is constantly looking at their cell phone as if they're looking for an excuse to get out of the date. That's not somebody you want to date. This is a time when people's social skills have diminished. Don't be fooled. Trust but verify. When you go home that night, if you haven't done so before, find a reputable online background check and run a background check on your date. It may or may not be accurate, and I can't recommend any specific service. And even if I could, I wouldn't. Now, you probably have some additional questions that weren't answered in this video, but maybe will be answered in future videos. So if you're watching this on YouTube, on the comments below, check the subscribe button for when I make other videos. And so leave a question you may have or a concern you have about dating in the comments, and I'll try to answer that. And eventually, if there's enough demand for it, we may hold a live webinar about dating, both online dating and in-person dating. These days, there's no stigmatism to meeting someone online or meeting someone in person. At some point, the sooner the better, you have to meet someone in person. Let me tell you a story from my own personal experience dating. I, I, I was single, and it was not sure the exact year, but it was a while ago. And this beautiful woman who claimed to be a gynecologist in Bulgaria and I exchanged emails. She even gave me a phone number, which actually worked. And she would remember she was in Bulgaria, which is a communist country. And she asked me, she wanted me, she wanted to come meet me. And I said, sure. And then she said she needs to bring her mother, her daughter with her. And the cost for that would be $12,000. So I responded, being a typical New Yorker, in the only way I knew how. I said, no problem, honey. You get off the airplane with your mom and your daughter, and you look exactly the way you do in those pictures. I'll kiss your feet. Sorry, I'll say, I'm sorry I ever doubted you, and I'll cut you a check for $12,000. Guess how many times I heard from her after that? Zero. That's right. That was a dating scam. Certain countries, which I will leave out, but you will find out, are notorious for that. And also, just because you're on a dating website doesn't mean that you can trust what people say. A lot of people exaggerate their qualities, positively or negatively. And now we've come to the end of this video. I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope you take away some serious points that you can put into practice on your next date. This is Leonard Boyer, attorney at law, and this is a divorce attorney's guide to dating. Thank you for sharing your valuable time with me, because I know your time is irreplaceable, and believe me, I appreciate it. So wherever you're watching, be sure to leave a genuine, meaningful comment and leave any questions that you may have so they can be answered in a future video. This video is being recorded live. It will be posted unedited. All I'm going to do is add a thumbnail to this video. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, and stay safe out there.